Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies. Grab your favorite bevy, pull up a chair, and enjoy the ride. Hey, B&B fam. This podcast is sponsored to you by BetterHelp, H-E-L-P. Is there something getting in the way of your happiness? I know when I traveled the world, I had many days where BetterHelp's worldwide service of licensed professional therapists could have helped me speak to someone no matter where I was in the world about whatever was happening with my life, and with zero judgment. With their ability to match me with a therapist that best fits me, I know my mental health would have been way better back then. Believe me, I needed it. But I'm here to share a way for you to take back control of your mental health by telling you about BetterHelp's awesome services they have for you to talk with a pro about your life through their app or just online. Whether it is a video session or some simple messaging, their team is here to help. I went to check out the app for myself just to see how easy it was to use, and after a series of questions, I was told I would be able to start matching with a therapist in under 48 hours. And what is super rad is that it's affordable and they even offer financial aid too. So come join the 2 million users that have already been helped and gain back control of your mental health by visiting betterhelp.com/backyards for 10% off your first month. Remember, BetterHelp is therapy done securely online. Don't forget to use the special code BACKYARDS and let BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, help you to start living a happier life today. Hey, Backyards and Bevvies.
Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to Backyards and Bevvies, where we still don't have a camera.
That's okay.
I know.
I just want to hear the melodious sound of our voice.
I know.
Also, you guys don't want to see our house right now. It is a hot mess. We are packing to move to our new house.
I know. Outside's a mess. Well, not outside really is a mess, but it's
hot, and there's a lot going on. We keep getting eaten alive by bugs, and the inside of the house is
the most important
full of boxes.
Is the message. The message.
Yes. But we're excited because we are in the home stretch of our home sale and moving. Our house that we passed inspection, passed appraisal. Now we're just waiting to close and get all the packing done. So we are spending our lovely Labor Day weekend doing nothing but packing.
But we're being positive about it all.
Yes.
You know, there has been some, and I don't use the word negative, but there has been like moments where it didn't work the way we wanted it to. And we could have gone...
A little stressful.
Well, we could have taken it in a very negative light. Like we could have gone to a point where we were like, this is, I mean, sure, I'm probably at one point I said, this sucks.
Well, sure. I mean, the moving process and selling your house process does suck. It is
But even then, intense. I don't think that we really were negative ever. Now, verbs and words matter, right? Like, and emotions. And I learned this every day with my little dude and the little girl. I think you go through it too. I am a fiery Latino, so
yes,
my emotions tend to have a 0 to 100.
Yes.
But I try to. I'm learning how to control those.
Yes.
With my words, actually.
Yes.
Which is even crazier because I never thought that slowing down would actually be a beneficial thing. I always thought that going fast was the craziest thing. So that's the only way to live fast.
Definitely not the only way to live.
It really isn't. I mean, and life already goes fast enough, right? So so it's crazy because I do like fast things. I am fiery, but over the last 3 years I've really been working on myself, and part of that is the words I use and how I use them and how I express myself and it's hard. It really is. And it takes a toll on me. That's why I use working out as one of my biggest stress reliefs, because then I get to release a lot of, I think, built up tension inside of myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which helps me. I'm actually really excited. Though I love this house, I am glad we're going to a neighborhood, as crazy as that sounds.
Well, it's funny because when we first decided to buy a house, we wanted nothing to do with the neighborhood. We were like, no, we want space and land. And we had all these like big dreams of doing stuff with all this land that we bought. And then once we had littles, it's like, oh, they actually kind of do need a neighborhood so that they can make little friends and like, I think I'm the most excited about going trick-or-treating. We're actually going to get to go trick-or-treating, go like door to door. There's going to be people. Yeah. It's not going to be dangerous to walk on the street.
and we live in a little bit of a rural place, and rural. So there's not sidewalks and stuff. And this isn't not a neighborhood. It just, at this point in our life want something different. Great house, great everything, but it was time for us to move.
Yeah. We need more space.
And the one thing I think will help at the end of my day with a lot of that is with built up tension throughout the day is I'm looking forward to doing some afternoon walking.
Yeah.
Like after dinner walks or, we go and walk in our backyard, but it is highly, there's a lot of tree cover. There's a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
And neighborhoods tend to be less bugs because
less trees.
Well, you've just taken all the vegetation away. Like
right.
We're just surrounded by vegetation. So there's just a lot of nature around us. And it is beautiful. Zero complaints, but it is in the summer hard to just take a walk through the grass without being attacked sometimes by just like the little buggies that are in the air. Yeah. So walking on a nice paved street sounds
and
so
not playground.
That sounds so backwards to what everybody's like, why would you leave this? But in our moment in life right now, this is where we decided that we think we need to be. And we could go there and in a month hate it all.
Hopefully not. At least we'll have more space.
But I think what the point of this one is today is that negativity. And last weekend I'd signed on to go hang out with a buddy of mine, and you were sweet enough to allow this to happen because we are very busy right now. We have a book coming out. We have all these things, but this was like my last decompression before who knows what hits us.
Yeah, and it's always good to go have a bro weekend.
Well, it was a meaningful bro weekend. This was someone from like high school I haven't seen in probably 20 years. We've stayed in touch. We were close-ish in high school, but it was so cool because he was older than me, but he was always someone like everyone kind of looked up to. He was the guy that you were like, wow, he's a really nice guy. And so I always just thought he was a great person. So when we reconnected many years later after high school, he was still that same person. And it was just like, oh, okay, you really are this cool. You are cool. You are nice. You are all the things that I did think you were in high school. And then what was kind of crazy is I think we both were going through stuff parallel. Some similar, some different, but we each went through it and we helped each other in different ways find different paths in our life through the last probably 10, maybe actually probably even longer, like 15 years without ever still
actually
meeting
seeing each other.
We've just chatted over the phone or via text or when obviously the internet or all the social media things now. And so it was really cool because when Mikey asked me to go on this dirt bike trip, well, he used to be like a pro rider like back in the day, which was one of the other things that I always thought was so cool with him.
Dirt bike rider?
Yeah, dirt bike rider was like, here's this dude that is not only cool, but he's super fast on a dirt bike. Like he is sponsored by, a pro team, he was everything that I think I wanted to be, but I just wasn't.
Right.
So when he said that, I was like, you know what, this will be actually kind of cool because it's, sure, like we're probably going to have some adult time and hang out and, I'll probably going to get hammered at one point. And I wasn't even sure like if he drank or, you know what I mean? Because it's been years since
since we partied together.
Yeah. And even in high school, I don't ever think we actually partied together because he was like in bands and stuff and he was in band and he was a racer. And so to me, he just never was a big partier. And so I was like, well, maybe this is just like we're just going to grill and watch races. But it was a blast. It was honestly one of the best weekends I've had with someone that's just like us two hanging out, like I have Andy, I have Neil, and now I feel like I have Mikey as, another top friend. And so, and then obviously I have like Brace and Lucas that, I see them actually. I see Brace like probably
pretty often now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we get our lunches and stuff together. So, but it's just funny how you fall into these little, like kind of spaces with people. Well, Mikey and me are on this like positivity space, right? Like all we talk about is like positivity. And we're very like, how can we better ourselves? Because we're a mess. Well, at least I am a complete mess. And I say that I'm sure he has moments in his life where he's like, I need to get this together, right? So I think once we got together and we started having these conversations, well, he said this really cool thing to me. But it wasn't about him and it wasn't about me. It was about two brothers that we were about to see this weekend. And in the race world right now, there's always someone who dominates, right? And we talk about racing all the time. We talk about soccer. We just talked about Leo Messi. We've talked about F1 racers and Max Verstappen. And these guys are crushing their industries they're in, and you see like teams like the Alabamas of the world or the I'm trying to think of like a hockey team right now that's dominating, like the Las Vegas Knights and stuff like that. They just tend to, once they start winning, they just keep winning. And it's just, you're just like, what? The Steph Currys of the world, right? You're like, what in the world are they drinking? I need some of that.
Right.
Well, there's these two brothers that are dominating racing right now in the dirt bike world. And they're both from Australia. I mean, and they're not like old, like they're not far in age,
right?
But they're just beasts, and they race on the same team. I mean, like pretty how cool
pretty cool
is
that they're brothers and that they race on the same team.
Yeah.
And extra cool that one of them is like a massive Tool fan that I met, and we got to bond over our love for that incredible band,
Hunter Lawrence. And he won while we were here,
right, in Nashville. Yep.
And then I think his brother won like a day or two or a race or two later. So I'm like what is it called, a fair weather fan to most sports. Like I know enough to like have a conversation, but I don't know.
But you don't like watch it religiously.
I don't know like every detail, right?
Right.
But Mikey, he's like he's used to be a racer. He knows all the things, and so he was telling me about them, and he said something that was really cool about their team mentality.
The Lawrence brothers specifically, or like the whole team?
I think about them specifically, but it translates to the whole team. And I think a lot of people, you think of racing, and you think of racing as not a team sport, right? You think of it as like, oh, well, that's just an individual that goes out there and wins.
But it takes a whole team to back the individual.
It's like an artist, right? It's like the thing that you explained about the universe. You have to have all the other parts. They all have to want to work with you too,
right?
Like you
to
can't
make you as good as you can, as you can be. You can't do it by yourself.
No, you could be the greatest musician, you could be the greatest race car driver, you could be the greatest dirt bike rider, but if you don't have, like, even if you're a BMXer, you don't need a mechanic per se, but you need all the backers that believe in you to sponsor you to do all those right things, right?
Right.
Well, their whole thing is there's no mistakes. And when he said it to me, I was like, there's no mistakes. I was like
they're not allowed to make any mistakes?
Yeah, like, well, you can take it in a lot of ways. Like, we don't make mistakes. Like, that could be a very cocky, conceited.
Except you're human, so you're going to make mistakes.
Exactly. But then he explained it, and he was like, well, it's not that there's no like, they don't make mistakes. They make a lot of mistakes. We all do. But they don't use those terms, they don't use those verbiages as most people would,
because it's negative.
So their whole motto is it's learning opportunities.
Okay.
So they try to interject as little negativity into their team as possible.
I like that.
And I was like, whoa, that's really rad, because here they are winning everything and they're only being positive. Like, what a mindset. Like, what a different way to think about it. Because when we watch F1, there's always the guy on the radio that's cursing his team.
Oh yeah, always.
and
but it goes to show that
and I'm sure that they have conversations afterwards where they're like, I was upset about
in the heat
this.
of the moment.
Yeah. We don't get to see those parts because there's no drama involved.
We do in Netflix.
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
Come on,
they only show the
Drive
drama.
to Survive. I can't wait for the next season.
They only show the drama side of it.
That's true.
But it started to make me think, and I was like, man, even in my own life, what I am personally about ready to go through is something major, like life-changing major. And it's already started. Think about it. I have 7 people on my team now.
Is it 7?
Well, I have a PR team now.
You do, yeah. And that's 3, right?
And what does a PR team stand for?
Public relations.
Which is pretty cool.
It's super cool.
So I have a whole team I have 3 people on there that are dedicated.
You have 3 publicists dedicated to you.
3 people that are just milestone publicity is the people that have
your publicists.
They're my publicists. And that's so cool.
Super cool.
And they have a really cool roster of people like Sugar Ray and Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland, yeah.
Like, I've loved him since the movie Stand By Me.
Lost Boys for me.
Lost Boy. I mean,
Boys. We should watch that.
But he's in so many great movies like, I'm right there with... No, I'm not right there with him, but I'm on the same team with him.
Yeah, you're on the same team now.
And that's so cool because it's like, though I'm a writer... And I don't have a mechanic, and I don't have I don't have a team per se. I do have a team. And so it made me start thinking like, holy shit.
You absolutely have a team.
I need to look at, and I think I've stated this though to you, and I think I've probably talked about it on here a little bit. I am looking at trying to do this differently because I have been with artists that don't treat their team well. Because their management is done... is unwell. Like there's
or the artist.
You
can't just blame the management.
It does start at the top though, it does feed down. Like look at what Taylor did, like to all her crew.
She's amazing.
Literally gave them all $100,000, and people, obviously wigged about it about how could she be so cool, right? But the Lawrence brothers, 2 people I didn't think. Though I liked and I thought that they were doing rad stuff, I didn't think that they were going to inspire me on this little mini trip.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yet here I am having a whole podcast about how what is in front of me is a world championship in a way. Like I have to look at it about that. I have to put myself in that seat, and then I have to think, how do I want to react to everybody around me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if I don't put in the work, then why would anyone else want to put in the work?
100%.
Like, that's first and foremost, right? Like, that should be key number 1. But then if I put the work in and fail, I can only blame myself because it's not what other people didn't do, right? I can't turn around and be like, well, you didn't do this. Well, I need to look at all the things that I didn't potentially do.
Right.
But I don't need to look at it in a negative way. I need to look at it as a learning experience.
Absolutely. Like how can I do better next time around? What do I need to change?
Could I have done that post a little bit better? Like, because we're about to drop something in a few weeks that, like, I'm in my mind, I'm imagining it goes through the roof.
Super cool.
But if it doesn't, it's on me and how I could approach it differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's all the dreams from me that I'm handing to you, that you're helping me build, that then we're handing to
the masses
to
hope that they connect with it.
Look at what Jamie and Alyssa have done for us.
Oh, they're the best.
And our friend Lauren. I mean, it's like a team of women are just like... You
are surrounded by a lot of women.
A lot.
Yeah.
I think,
girl power.
And then there's even Jessica who's on my team. And I'm spacing on the other PR person's name.
Well, Mike is the head of the team.
Yeah, I knew Mike. But...
And then I think it's Taryn.
Yeah, I think
Taryn.
Yeah, Taryn, that's it.
Yeah. So, and of course, you have Julie over at the publishing house and her whole team, who we haven't gotten to meet yet, but she has a whole team of people. And,
so
you've got agents interested.
I only have one.
I think you only have one guy so far.
I only have one guy.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think Taryn is a female. I haven't really gotten to talk to her yet, but yeah.
Pretty rad.
Super cool. Girl power.
Strong.
We got you.
I know.
It's the Barbie era.
And wait till people read the book. And then they'll be like, wait, what?
Like, wait.
Hold on a second.
Inspo.
This isn't about Phil.
No, it's definitely not about Phil.
It is definitely not. That's one thing I think people are going to be most surprised about is that they keep thinking that this is like an autobiography about me and my roadie days.
Definitely not.
Oh, gosh. How boring would that be?
That might be interesting, but it would not be nearly as interesting
as the stories being told through my mouth on like an interview would be interesting. Like what we do is, I think, interesting. But even then, I haven't even dug into like half the wild stories, right? Because that's not what this show is about.
Right.
But if someone was to ask me some wild stuff, we could definitely have some fun.
For sure.
But that's not a book-worthy thing. That's like a 10-minute story kind of thing. Like, oh wow.
Okay. Yeah, 100%.
But back to the whole Lawrence brothers and this weekend. So watching them out there, though, this was the big race. This was the end. This was all the marbles on the table, and they both had a chance to win championships. But what's insane about it is that Jet was just so fast. I mean, he was gone. I mean, he was just like, it was like watching a cat toy with a mouse. That was like, because just no one could catch him. He was just fast. And so you're like, he's winning.
That's awesome.
His brother just had one of those weekends where God was like, all right, dude, I'm gonna challenge you. And he did, man. He made him start one race in the middle of the pack and had to work his way back up. And it was one of those ones where you're watching, like, he has to get to what place? And he's in what place?
And he did it.
And he did each
That's
time.
Incredible.
And it was very incredible. And then talking to his mechanic afterwards, Cameron, I mean, it was one of those moments where everybody put on a great race. All the riders out there. It was so cool to watch. It was so cool to meet new and young riders, like in the camp areas where we were staying. And it was a weekend full of inspiration.
That's awesome.
So though I went in going, well, I'm personally taking this weekend to do nothing but stuff my face with food and beer and not
decompress,
not do a single thing. Because when I get home...
You got to be in Phil mode, not dad mode, not husband mode, not author mode.
Nothing. I didn't have to write anything. I didn't have to...
You just got to be you mode.
Just had to sit there. And I did. Did a lot of sitting and a lot of walking. A lot of talking.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was so inspiring. And I knew that I would have great conversations with Mikey, but I didn't see this coming. And then getting back, it was like, okay... How do you win championships? All right, got to study.
Mindset.
Absolute mindset. It is absolutely about going into something. And we had recently saw that Ed Milet thing where he was talking about you have to picture yourself in the seat. Like you can't picture yourself. And it's the verbiage, it's the talk, it's the words you use. Because if you say I'm never gonna get there, look how far I have to go. Everyone else has it so easy. Look at all the people before me. Well, all you're doing is adding gaps to where you need to try to be, right? You're just oh, well, it was right there until I said these 10 negative things. Now it's like 10 more feet that way. Like you're, you know, like if you were to put a distance to it.
Yeah.
But it is, I don't know. There's going to be a lot of hard roads in front of us.
Absolutely.
And we really only have gotten to about 50%. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if we're at 50%.
No, we got a ways to go.
Like, I think we're at like 45%. Yeah. So, you know, we still have 55% to who knows where. The book may never end. So we might sit at 75% for a long time.
Yeah. We may never totally reach the finish line. I mean, we're going to reach the finish line as far as putting it out, but you always promote, but that's not regroup, that's like the 50% and plan, though. And I mean, that's like the 50% mark, because if we put it out and then we just stop, well, then we hit 100, and then we're like, okay, well, then what? No,
so that means that there's zero residuals coming in. That means that the book is dead.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, we want this to go forever, hopefully.
Yeah.
Well, until they finally ban every book, and
let's hopefully never get
and
there.
everybody just has images blasted into their brain.
We definitely don't need that.
Yeah. The Elon's chip finally works. Everybody gets it involved. I mean, this is like, I'm thinking like this is 30, 31, you know, like.
Yeah. Well, long after we're gone.
Thousands of years after we're gone. And then people don't even read. They just think, and then it's their own stories that they can share with everybody.
Just plugged in.
Yeah,
crazy.
It is the Matrix.
But I digress.
I fell asleep in that boring movie.
You need to watch it again. It's actually really good.
I don't know if I can.
You also were hungover. Like beyond hungover.
I had a sandwich that morning. I was feeling good.
You were not feeling good. You immediately laid on the floor and went to sleep in like the first 5 minutes. You didn't even give the movie a chance.
Yeah, because it was boring. The first 5 minutes were hard to watch.
All right. Well, we've lost every listener ever that we've ever had because
And there's
you
like
insulted the Matrix.
There's like 5 people that agree with me out there. They're like, yep.
In the world.
That's fine. Take
Well,
those 5 people.
They're probably not our listeners, so you've alienated every listener we have.
I didn't say I'm mad at the people that do like it.
Terrible.
But what are your thoughts on that? Like, I mean, like, you deal with a lot of artists and stuff like that. I mean, like, do you feel that that's something that a lot of people miss out on, is having someone that tells them? Because imagine if your whole team was negative, you know?
Well, I have friends who are part of teams that are very negative.
Yeah.
And it eats them alive.
Yeah.
And it really creates a miserable experience.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to foster growth and success in an environment like that. And when you do have success in an environment like that, it's really hard to appreciate it. And it's hard to hold on to that. You know, like if you're in an environment that is toxic and only focuses on the mistakes or is very negative, when you do have wins, it's a blip of excitement.
Yeah.
And you have to hold on to that tiny blip to get you through every day until you get to the next tiny blip.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So I think, and you know, you're not learning in that type of situation. So I think...
No, you're just trying to avoid things.
Yeah.
You're playing the game Frogger.
You're trying to get through versus learn and grow and succeed. So, you know, I think mistakes are a good thing. You know, I've always said, and you've heard me say this before, I don't have any regrets in my life whatsoever.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I have had a perfect dream life. Absolutely not. I have made countless mistakes and been through plenty of awful situations.
Yeah.
But there's no point in regretting decisions you've made or actions you've taken or things that have happened to you or anything like that, because you wouldn't be where you are today without growing through each of those things. So I think I adopted that mentality very early on in life. And I think it's one of the reasons I am such a positive and patient and compassionate person, is because I truly believe that you only learn by trying and failing.
Yeah.
And there's no point at looking at those situations as failures or as mistakes, but as learning opportunities, because it makes you better. Nobody is at their best. Nobody.
Yeah.
Literally nobody.
Oh, no, I'm far from that.
No. There is a song that one of my artists, it's not out yet, but that one of my artists has that, and they are not a religious person, so I was actually very impressed that this was in their song, but that basically says there was only one perfect person, and even he says that there's beauty in the broken.
Yeah.
And that line always resonated with me when I heard it, and every time I hear it since, because it's true. There's something very precious about being imperfect.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to have an opportunity to be better.
Yeah, because if you only go through life and you're like, well, I can't do that because I'll make a mistake or I'm not going to do it great.
Yeah.
Well, then you're never going to try it.
Holding yourself back.
You're holding yourself back the entire time because you're just worried about the mistakes or what other people are going to look at or what other people are going to judge you about. And I think what you said is something that I think that's why I held on to being a roadie for so long, because it was such an easy place, an easy space for me to not make mistakes. And though I always wanted to do this, I was terrified of what people thought about me.
Yeah, you're not going to grow if you are not forced to be uncomfortable.
Or what people would say or how people would look at it or anything. Or even like being faithful. As silly as that sounds, I was more worried about all the other things that, you know, like are behind that. You know, like, oh, well, I mean, this person's not going to like me because not necessarily that I'm not faithful, but because I'm not like going with them to do something, or I'm not going to, the bar tonight, or I'm not going to this place.
Right.
And the flip side to that is exactly what you're saying is having that little bit of integrity and just saying, well, I'm going to live this life to its fullest. And part of that is by engaging and failing and learning and trying and doing and putting yourself out there.
But I mean, learning is definitely the key.
Well, if you do the same thing over and over and over again, then you're
definition of insanity.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what your point is right. Like if you're only worried about the mistakes, then there's no living. You're only then avoiding.
Right. And that's not life.
And so you might as well lock yourself in a closet because that's the only place where you're never going to make a mistake. But then you make the biggest mistake of all. You didn't live.
You miss out on everything.
Yeah, you missed out on everything.
100%.
So you have to take those shots.
Risks are worth everything.
Well, and I think that's in an environment where positivity breeds and allows others to bring in ideas without being fearful of their idea being like laughed at or squashed or just thrown in the trash. I think then all of a sudden, because like me personally, I can't think of everything. Like, I don't know. Like I can come up with a general idea of where I want to go, but it really is the team that's like, oh my gosh, have you ever thought about this? And it's like, whoa, no, I never did. Like, is that even possible? They're like, oh yeah, let me explain, or let me open your brain to this, or hey, I've heard this. I can do some research on this, but I think this would be really good for you. But in an environment where you're, again, trying to avoid being a mistake, then you're never going to bring anything like wild out on the table. You're only going to wait for the top person to say something. So then I'm sure they'll eventually come up with something kind of cool, but think about all the things they missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the opportunities, potentially, like anything. I mean,
absolutely.
Life is endless, which is crazy. And that's the other thing too, is I think when you're positive, you open yourself up to endless opportunities, because then other things like a negative can't give another negative, right? It can only take away more, right? Only positives can actually open up the door, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, isn't that like math function 101, right? Like 1 minus 1, you take away another.
Right.
And only 1 plus 1 gives you energy.
Adds it up.
So I think that there's something to be said with, even if you are like religious at all, or thinking that, oh, well, it's only like I ain't gonna pray about that stuff, or I'm not gonna do that kind of stuff. Like, but there's a lot of other awesome stuff in the universe where if you just thought about the universe as like a growing entity, and energy, like, right, energy doesn't ever go away. It just transfers too, right? So if you transfer positive energy to someone else who you just interacted with, then their positive energy
can be transferred on to the next person. And
the
next,
so like even if they had a negative day, but you transferred a positive to them, they might just go back to 0.
Right. At least they're not still down in the negatives. Very true.
Yeah. So like even if you thought about it completely mathematical, like it's still pretty wild that positive ideas and positivity in life can really breed positivity into projects you're doing, or winning races.
Yeah.
And then everybody wins, because then you're like, then you can celebrate longer. Like, I mean, when we went over their pit, they were so happy. Everyone was like, their music was playing. Well, at this point, they were just taking part bikes, but everybody was still so happy. Like, all of them had smiles on their face. It was wild. It was hours after the race.
So cool.
So I'm sure they celebrated like up until then, but they still had to tear everything down. But even then, they were having fun.
Still had to do their jobs.
So, well, anyways, I thought this was a really rad discussion because of what I'm about to go through in life is something very hard, and it's very precious to me too, because I think I've squandered many opportunities in life to be here with you for one, be here with our children for 2, and then for 3, get to do something I love that doesn't take me away from 1 and 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and part of that positivity is trying to be as positive about life with you, and trying to be as positive about life with the kids, which is in my opinion, sometimes it's the hardest because it's two little people who don't know how to
communicate,
who don't know how to express themselves in a sometimes positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're trying to get the best out of them while not losing your marbles, and it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially at 2.
Yeah, it definitely is.
That one's hard.
Yeah.
That's my biggest struggle, I think. But I do every night. I pray on it, and I try to like tell myself, all right, tomorrow I just gotta like work
Another
a little
day.
bit more.
Yep.
I just gotta
Keep
give a
trying.
And it is that is that positive talk though. If I stop trying, then I failed.
Absolutely.
But as long as I keep trying as a parent and keep going through the motions and keep trying to like be positive about even the worst part of it, then I'm at least trying.
Yep.
So,
and that's a win.
That's a win. That's the win. That's the win. It's only when you stop that you fail.
Absolutely.
So,
if you get knocked down, you got to keep getting back up.
Yep. Well, on that note, I think we're done. Absolutely. And we're on our last, if I look at our schedule, I think we might not have any more in this house. We might record one more in this house, but it might come out by the time the next one we record. Well,
we may double up because we have a big announcement coming soon.
Yeah. We might. We may.
But we'll let you guys know.
Or you might just see it.
Yeah, it may just be there.
Might just be like, whoa, there's a double.
All of a sudden, it's 2 weeks in a row instead of every other week. We're back to the old schedule.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening, like always.
Yes.
It's always a blast to talk into this microphone.
And hope that someone's listening.
Are you out there?
Someone?
You at least made it this far.
Yeah.
That's always the one that trips me out. Who makes it this far?
Yeah. 70-something episodes in?
Well, not even 70. This is 76, but like, who makes it this far in the show? Like, we're 36 minutes in.
Huh? You never know. Somebody's got to be listening.
They're like, okay, you said you're done. Like,
so
2 minutes ago.
All right, we're done.
Hang up.
Okay, bye. Hang up first. Have a wonderful week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a wonderful, and it's Labor Day weekend.
Now.
So when you listen to this, I hope you had a wonderful Labor Day week.
Yes.
Now get back to work.
All right. Bye.
Bye.